What's going on, everybody? Jason Burton back for another episode of High and Tight. Joining with me, as always, Jordan Jones. We're going to dive right into it. We're going to roll through this one. VISAA recap and summer ID recaps. Again, welcome back to another episode of High and Tight.
Okay, let's do this thing.
Jordan, not going out tonight, I imagine.
Yeah, no, we're holding us down a little bit, but looking back to getting out tomorrow.
Yep, been a little bit rainy. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. This will run Wednesday night. Kind of a slow day across the state, so we thought it was fitting to get this done and get this out tonight while it's a little bit slower. First things first, just want to kind of walk through some summer events. Obviously, we're going to touch on it a little bit today. We had our summer ID, our first event of the summer on Sunday at Iron Bridge Sports Complex. Good event, a little over 30 kids. We'll get into that a little bit. But following up, I guess our next in-house event, if you will, state games. That date has been flipped June 17th and 18th. I imagine by the time this comes out, the junior state games event has been changed to June 16th. So just moved up 2 days, same week, same deal, all of that good stuff. The reason for the move is the addition to the NCAA recruiting calendar. It's always like that every single year with the dead period on Father's Day weekend. Well, they didn't put it in this year. So we scheduled everything. Going off of that recruiting calendar, and then they came in and changed it. Shocker. But so we had to adjust a little bit to make it make sense for those high school age players to get in front of colleges for those 2 days. So some slight date adjustments for that, and then we roll with TPG events after that, so on and so forth. Events are tapped out. I think really the only two events that have a decent amount of openings left are your top prospect underclass, which is kind of behind me here. Which way do we go? There we go. And that is at UR on July 8th, I believe. And that is for 27s through 29s. All the other events are limited spots available, if not sold out. I know we have multiple positions sold out at both of our TPG events, as well as the Summer ID West at Radford on, what is that, Jordan, June 9th?
Yeah, 9th.
Yeah, Monday, June 9th. So we'll have an event that day. So those two events are open, Underclass TPG and Summer ID West. The other ones are getting pretty close to completely sold out. Over 420 registrations for the summer. So a lot of players. Please remember any national events that you're interested in: East Coast Super Sophomore, Junior Future Games, Senior Future Games. All of those premier events, they are all selected out of our summer events. So you will need to be in attendance for one of those as part of, if you want to call it a tryout, it's fine. But in order to be selected for those teams. So, Jordan, anything else to add here before we get started? I feel like, stat submissions. Did you want to touch on that for a second?
Yeah, guys, we've been putting out on social media stat submissions for our end of the year all state selection teams. So we really want you guys to put your submissions in. Coaches, put your guys' stats in. We really prefer coaches coming from coaches. We have some players submitting, but that's great too. But we really want high school coaches putting submissions in, getting their stats in, so we can have a good selection, see the stats for different guys, so we can make our all-state teams for the end of the year.
Yeah, and those all-state teams will be released on June 23rd. It's about a week later than usual. One reason being is, like, we are absolutely slammed with stuff. The program invite, which is Father's Day weekend, and we have state games right behind it. We have like a dozen scout days those first 2 or 3 weeks. But the biggest reason for the move for that being pushed back a week is just because the high school tournament was pushed back a week this year. So, and it's not so much for the stats that week because you have so few teams playing, but more so because of the fact that your regional stuff has been pushed back a week also. So you're talking about potentially, 2, 3, 4, 5 games not being taken into account for stat submissions. So that can be, a positive and a negative. But that's why we pushed that back a week this year. Have until June 8th, I believe, right, Jordan? June 8th to get them in. I think that's Sunday. Again, just piggybacking on what Jordan said, please, 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 please make sure that coaches, or we would prefer that coaches submit them. If we do get stat submissions from players or parents, we are going to cross-reference those stats just to make sure they're accurate with those teams and with those coaches. If it is someone in consideration for a team. In addition to that, these have to be varsity stats. I feel comfortable saying this, like Jordan and I both in some capacity, and 90%, I guess if you threw a number on it, of high school players at some point in time played some sort of like middle school and JV baseball. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's all part of the process for the majority of players. But at the same time, the only stats that will be taken into consideration are varsity statistics. This is varsity all-state teams. The level of comparison from competition and stuff like that is not really comparable from JV to varsity across the board. I think everybody can understand that. So the only stats that will be considered are varsity statistics. And again, preferred that the coaches submit statistics for their players. That is a pinned tweet on the top of our X account. So if you need to access that Google form and submit those things, it is right there. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Jordan, anything else to add? We good?
Yeah, we're good.
We can get to the good stuff now.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to jump into it. Just going to do a quick recap. And what we'll do, Jordan, is I'll recap some scores and just kind of each division for VISAA. And then we'll talk about, a player or two here or there. And then we'll move on to the next division. So taking us through Division 3 VISAA, honestly, just kind of status quo. As expected, Walsingham ran through. They beat Broadwater in the first round 11-3. They beat Walsingham in the second. That's the only way that they would lose if they beat themselves. Walsingham beat BA in the second round 16-2. Which was the semifinals, and then they won the championship 11-3 over Life Christian. Life Christian came across as the 2 seed. They defeated Kinston Forest in the semifinals 11-4, and then they lost. They lost to Walsingham again in the championship game 11-3. Jordan, I know one guy that we wanted to talk about. The only game we saw for Walsingham in this tournament was the championship game, and one of the guys that stood out was Matt Swanson, James Madison commit 2026 right-hander.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on me. I'll wear that one. We'll let the video play.
Yeah, Swanson got to start on the mound in the championship game, and that's the guy that you really want the ball in the championship game. He's competitive, able to mix pitches, fill up the strike zone. We ran into some minor traffic in the third or fourth innings, but he just cruised and controlled his way on after that. Was up to 86, 88 with the fastball, mixing in a firm slider in the upper 70s. But he just controlled that game. He made pitches when he needed to make pitches to get back in the dugout, let his defense play a little bit. But that's just a Swanson that we expect to see in that type of setting, just competing, getting the ball, and giving this team a chance to win.
7 straight state championships. I know they had some seniors that were there. Hamilton Adams, Johns Hopkins commit. And then you had Daniel Gunterberg, senior, had a good day. Chandler Howlett had a good day. I mean, there's multiple multi-hit guys in that game. And like Coach Heisel had said, they were kind of dinged up throughout the year. So they got healthy there towards the end and, kind of took off and did what they do for 7 straight times, 7 straight years, Division III state champions. And from the sounds of it, it doesn't get any less fun, understandably so. So, all right, moving on to Division II. Greenbrier Christian defeated Covenant in the quarterfinals 16-2. Stewart knocked off Nansman Suffolk in a 10-9 game. We were there. Kind of, what we talked about with Commonwealth Classic, like back and forth. I don't want to say back. The Commonwealth Classic wasn't really, that championship wasn't back and forth. But, high leverage situation, some big plays, some big pitches, some big hits, whatever. This one was a much higher scoring affair than the Commonwealth Classic Championship. Stewart defeated Nansman Suffolk Academy, but again, in that kind of anticlimactic situation, it was a walk-off walk. And it was a 7th, right?
Yeah. Bottom 7.
So that Monday, shout out to Division II for moving all of their games up to that Monday, getting all of their games in, and not playing hope and pray with the weather for the rest of the week. So shout out to them for, making some adjustments and getting it done. I know it got kind of crazy and kind of hectic for Division I there towards the back end of the week. Highland knocked off Virginia Episcopal 5-1, and then Atlantic Shores beat North Cross 2-1. Tristan Lange threw an outstanding game, but I think Ty Woods matched him pitch for pitch. And then Beasley came in there on the back end, I believe. So they ended up winning Shores won 2-1. In the semifinals, Stewart, Mr. May, Bruce Seacrest knocked off his Stewart Spartans, knocked off Greenbrier Christian 8-5. I believe the sophomore's name is Brooks Johnson. Am I right, Jordan? Brooks Johnson came up with a huge home run in was it the 7th? Top of the 7th. Top of the 7th came up with I think it was a 1-run game, and he hit a 2-run home run to put him up 6-5. And then Archer got on, and then Dia Levy hit a 2-run one as well. So they scored 4 runs and 4 batters. They're in the top of the 7th. They upset and toppled the Greenbrier Christian Gators, the number 1 seed. Stewart won 8-5. And then Highland, it was kind of high scoring, like the game I was at Atlantic Shores a few weeks ago. But Highland was able to just kind of run away with things there at the end. It was kind of back and forth early, and then Highland rolled out like 7 or 8 runs there in like the 6th inning or something like that, 6th or 7th, and ended up taking down Atlantic Shores 15-7. Then the championship on Saturday, Highland ruled Stewart 12-2. Highland scored 32 runs in those 3 games. Lowest scoring game was the first game against Virginia Episcopal. It's like once they got to Shepherd, they just opened it up. And 2 of those guys that were able to do that, one was Christian Dart. I hope I killed audio on these. Yeah, there we go. One was Christian Dart. There's his grand slam right there. Jordan, what did you think of the Roanoke commit?
Yeah, I mean, I think he just gives that lineup another left-handed back, give a left-hand back that can impact the baseball, spread the ball around the yard. And I mean, that was good for them. And that home run there really opened up and broken open for those guys to get comfortable later in that game. But he's been a good left-handed batter in the lineup throughout the spring. Also, just good for this him in his senior year, get a state title and go off in a good way.
Absolutely. And then tournament MVP. Self-proclaimed, and not self-proclaimed, we proclaimed him tournament MVP for VISAA Division II. I think it's a safe bet. As well as Virginia DC Player of the Week for this week, Benji Cardone, VMI commit. I know a personal favorite of mine. I know a favorite of yours. just the way he plays the game. I think he brings just a different edge to that team. Huge. And we talked about it yesterday. 6 for 8 in the semifinals and championship game with 2 home runs, 3 doubles. Like, was it 7 ribbies, 5 runs?
Yeah, he was doing a bit of everything.
Yeah, just stupid. Like what do we got on Benji besides like just that ridiculous weekend?
Like he's just a fun one to watch. Like if you show up to a ballpark, he's just the guy that's going to catch your eye immediately, whether it's in the field, at the plate. He's just going to be one of those energy guys that he's going to compete, get after you at bat after at bat, and just seem like every time he stepped up to the plate in the semifinals and finals, like he was catching a barrel. Like led the game off with a home run, had that home run late as well. But just ability to impact the baseball, spray the ball around the yard. He's just going to compete and get after it. Every inning that he's out there. So he's just fun to watch and just see him, have some success there and into his senior season. And it's just good and fun to watch.
Yeah, and I know we talked about it up in the stands. Like if there were 2 VMI guys that ever were VMI guys, and when we say that, like how VMI plays the game, right? They play hard, they play fast, they're aggressive. They're IQ, they're higher. I say higher IQ guys. Like they play the game just maybe in a little bit different way, right?
Yeah.
They may be a little bit short physically, which I don't think really either of these two are, but they may be a little bit short physically, or maybe a little short velo or something like that. But they just have something about them that just stands out. And Benji and Conrad. Thomas Conrad from Greenbrier Christian, like those two just like they just fit. Like, in my opinion, it just absolutely works. You watch them on the base paths, they're already kind of getting into what Coach Roberts has those guys doing base running wise. I mean, Conrad swiped 42 bags this year, and Cardone gets on the bases and he's super aggressive and dirt ball reads and getting into his leads, and like they just like dirt bags players. I hate the word gamer, but yeah, they're those. So yeah, just those 2 guys, VMI commits, phenomenal senior seasons, and congratulations to Highland. For the record, I picked them before the season. For the record, none of us picked them. None of us picked them going into the tournament. But contrary to popular belief, I did pick them before the season. I do have the receipts for that. But no, we did not pick them going into the tournament. So coming out of the 3 spot, had a 3-4 championship, and they defeated Stewart 12-2. We're going to move on to Division 1. Jordan, anything else to add on Division 2 before we move on?
So I think, this was just to see, Stewart, shout out to Coach Seacrest and Stewart. They when it comes to playoff time, they come ready to play. So it's good to see them go on their run. And I mean, you just can't count those guys out when it comes to postseason play. So shout out to those guys.
No, that guy, coach is always finding a way. The Lord is on his side. He's a phenomenal coach and an even better person. So you say it every year. Couldn't be happier for him and the job he does for those guys over there at Stewart. So congratulations on a good run in the playoffs. Moving on to Division 1, we'll start off at the top of the bracket, the 1 versus 8. Miller School and Case and Wagner blanked Benedictine in the quarterfinal game. Benedictine had beat Stab in a electric play-in game that Monday. We double-dipped that day.
Double-dip, yeah.
Yep, double dip. We had Stewart and Nansman Suffolk, and then bounced over. Got Benedictine and Stab, but then Case and Wagner and the Mavericks ended the Benedictine season 6-0. Cape Henry defeated Bishop O'Connell 8-2. Colin LaBelle was just ridiculous. And Cape Henry just put together quality at bat after quality at bat, just scrappy as all get out. I think they get that honestly from the coaching staff, and and Coach Stodolo. So 8-2 victory over Bishop O'Connell. I was there for a majority of that. And then PVI defeated Collegiate 7-0. Matthew Rousey, right? Rousey, Christopher Newport. Didn't he throw that game?
Gallagher started.
Was it Gallagher? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, Gallagher started, yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was Rousey, but yeah, PVI won 7-0 over Collegiate. Big win for them. Got them to the semifinals. And then St. Chris, Flint Hill gave them a battle.
Yeah.
Absolute battle. Yeah. It was bottom of the ninth, and St. Chris was losing 1-0 with 2 outs. And I think they had obviously they had a hit, or they had a runner reach, and then probably and hopefully his stats get submitted, but probably first team, definitely no worse than second team All-State this year. Willie Hurt came up with a big double, and then who followed him up? Was it Jones that followed him up with a hit? I think.
Wally.
Yeah, I think it was Wally Jones that followed him up with a hit, and they ended up winning 2-1. They defeated Flint Hill in 9 innings. So again, Flint Hill and Coach Mendler had those guys ready to go, and that was a big game. We were not there for that one, kind of following along, and Christian Gray, outstanding game for him. Jordan, I want to say it was like 8 innings. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he went 8. But yeah, just phenomenal start for him, keeping him in the game, filling up the strike zone, getting outs. Also, it was good for them to save Knighton. So yeah, shout out to St. Chris.
Now we move to semifinals. Miller School beat Cape Henry 13-8, and PVI blanked St. Christopher's 5-0. The Friday games, the 2 Division II games, were the longest games of baseball in the history of baseball. They were very lengthy. And then Saturday wasn't a ton different. Cape went up early, if I'm correct. Cape went up early. Miller came back. It was a very high-scoring affair, 13-8. I think Cape was up 3-4 runs at one point, kind of in the
8-3 or something like that.
Yeah, kind of there in the middle innings. And let's see, I can pull it up right here. Let's see, it was 4-3 going into the top of the 4th, and Miller School put up a 5 spot, and then Cape responded with 4, and then Miller School scored 3 in the 5th and 2 in the 6th to open it up. But yeah, that was a pretty lengthy one too. Now that one was lengthy because of the fact that it was a lot of offense. Some guys were throwing strikes and stuff like that, but some guys were hitting.
Yeah, they had some hitters there.
Yeah. You had and we've seen Cape a couple times, and Bear Frisky played here and there. But what do you have? 3 hits?
3 hits.
3 hits that game. Dobrinsky had multiple hits. Reed Downs had multiple hits. Cape was swinging it really well. They were putting together some quality at-bats off of Hankins and Wade. They were putting some quality at-bats together off of those guys, but Miller School was just relentless. And then PVI, and we'll get to some of these guys in a second, but PVI blanked St. Chris in the nightcap, 5-0. Carter Purdue was outstanding in that game. So that was ace versus ace, Purdue versus Knighton, and Purdue threw extremely well. And then moving on to the championship game on Sunday, we were not able to be there. Every single year, you can guarantee that this tournament gets moved to Sunday, pretty much. I think 3 out of the past 4 years have. I know wasn't last year. Last year was moved, right?
I don't recall. I'm not sure, but really good chance.
So, no, because Benedictine beat Miller in that championship game last year. Wise threw
Yeah.
I think it was the previous 2 years
Okay.
because I remember Miller and Cape was um, it was Kenny Shadle's senior year, so I guess that was like 3 years ago. Shadle and X and some fireworks, and I think the next year was moved as well. But anyway, that Sunday we always have an event, like our first event of the summer, so we weren't able to be there. Miller School absolutely rolled. Evan Hankins hit, I think, a grand slam, right? One of his final at bats.
Yep.
But Miller School won 16-3. Rex Road did Rex Road things.
Yeah.
He's kind of I'm trying to think of the arm to where I say it all. Oh, he's kind of like Sean McCabe-ish, if you will.
Yeah.
Like you come out and it's like now Rex Road is what 80, 82, 79, 82, somewhere in there, 80, 83. Left-hander. But you're going to look up in the fifth or the sixth, and he's given up 2 hits, and he's only struck out 3, and he's walked 1, and you haven't scored. You scored 1. And the way that Miller School's offense was playing in the playoffs, you look at their run. They beat Benedictine's best arm 6-0. They scrapped and clawed with Cape, ended up winning 13-8, and then they trounced PBI 16-3. So they scored 29, 35 runs in 3 games versus Benedictine, Cape Henry, and PBI. So,
Awesome.
right, we kind of joked with Coach Wagner a little bit. What they lost to St. Chris, was it 1-0 or 2-1? I think it was 2-1.
2-1.
It was 2-1, 1-0. It was a close game, low scoring. A few weeks back, and ever since then, they've just stepped on the gas and absolutely lit it on fire offensively. So they really turned a corner on the back end there with the bats. Jackson Rosales has been outstanding for them offensively. And one that we wanted to talk about that continues to kind of jump out is Mandela Brauman, North Carolina commit, future games guy, 2026 outfielder. Jordan, what do you want to add on here?
Yeah, this is the guy that you don't want to take your eyes off when you're watching the game, like whether he's in the outfield, tracking baseballs down, showing off the arm. Obviously, look here at the speed. The kid can flat out run, shows a patient approach at the plate, ability to impact the baseball, extra base hits all over the yard. But he's a guy that you do not want to take your eyes off because he has tools that can change the game with the speed at the plate, in the outfield, whatever. He's just a fun guy to watch in all facets of the game. Just true talented player that I really enjoy watching.
Yeah, no, it's fun to watch that kid play baseball. And up and down the lineup, it wasn't just him. Some of the things that he does jump out for sure. I thought John Michael Chef's at bats in this postseason here recently have taken another step up. I thought he looked a little bit passive early in the season. I thought he just looked a little bit grittier in this postseason. Kind of saw a little bit more emotion out of him. And like I said, Rosales has been outstanding. Kaysen was Kaysen on the mound. I know we weren't there, but you kind of stuff-wise and stuff like that, what you're going to get essentially every single time out of Kaysen. You're going to get a 85, 87, 85, 88, 3 pitches for strikes, and just an absolute bulldog on the mound. The only thing that changes is the team he's pitching against. And then same thing with Rex Road. What you're going to get. Hankins had an outstanding championship game.
Drew Lucy.
What's that?
Drew Lucy.
Drew Lucy. And coming into this year, I would say definitely defense first. And I would still probably say defense first, but his offense has just kind of taken off this year.
Yes.
And that's multiple times that we've seen him, right? I thought the offense has, I don't know if 180 is aggressive, but is kind of a 180 from last year. He just looks so much more comfortable and it's been so much more consistent than in the past. And the catch and throw ability is there. He's just a little bulldog, and I really like that get for Charleston for whatever that's worth. But and like I said, up and down the lineup, Naomi Ryan is as good as it gets at first base. I don't think she pitched in the tournament, but I think that still leaves her as 0 runs allowed all year. I think it was like 16 or 17 innings the last I looked. So she was outstanding across the board. Noah Gray does what Noah Gray does, just hits. Jackson Smith, Connor Lockhart really looks the part. Just solid across the board. And when you really think about it, like they bring back a fair majority of that. I think they got some stuff to replace on the mound. They got some stuff to replace on the mound with especially with Rex Road and Hankins, especially with those two. You had some contributions throughout the year from guys like Bobson and some other guys. So I think there's some stuff to fill into, but it's a pretty solid foundation once again next year with Wade and Wagner is kind of those two centerpieces on the mound. And so, Jordan, anything else to add on? Oh, Purdue.
Yeah. Purdue's, fan favorite of ours. You know what you're going to get out of him to come on the mound. Competes, fill up the strike zone. I was up to 89, 86, 88. But the slider, it had a lot of late depth. It's kind of one of the best outings I've seen the slider from him. Just using it as an out pitch, getting some swing and miss in the zone. But I like watching that kid pitch on the mound because he's going to compete, high energy, quick tempo, and he gives you a chance to win each time out. So shout out for his performance in the semifinal game.
Yeah, and he was holding like 85 in the 7th. So the velo, it dipped a little bit, but nothing, to note. And it didn't happen early. And like you said, I agree 100%. The breaking ball was as good as I've seen it. He's always shown it for strikes.
Yeah.
He just really hasn't shown the teeth at times, the bite, the finishing traits. It's been more like back up and gotten some uncomfortable swings and gotten guys out. I thought it was so much sharper, had so much more depth. I just thought it was better all the way around. I thought it was firmer. So just a really good outing for him. Jordan, anything to add onto VISAA, just kind of recapping the entire season, anything like that?
I mean, I think this is one of the more talented years all the way through that I've seen. A lot of teams, if you catch them on the right knee, they can make some things happen. So I just think the overall talent from this spring was very fun to watch and just give you a talented and very fun VISAA tournament.
Yeah, and just taking everybody through, we have a pretty long story that we put together for the private school final rankings. We always do top 10. I'll be honest with you, outside of like the top 5 or so, there was just a lot of parity there, kind of in that maybe 6 to 10 to 12, 8 to 12, 8 to 15. And so we felt it was appropriate to put out a final 15, if you will, with St. John's leading the way. Said it, I think, in story form and say it on here. St. John's is the number 1 private school. St. John's is the number 1 Power 25 school. That will not change. That will not change at all. They're 30-1. The only game they lost was to the number 1 team in the country, and that's IMG's national team. Other than that, absolute dominance. Absolute dominance all season long. That's not going to change. There's nobody that can pass them by. They will remain at 1. These private school rankings are final. Miller School at 2, PVI at 3, Highland at 4, Greenbrier Christian at 5. That was a tough one, right?
Yeah,
that was a really tough one for us. What do you have anything to add there as to and if you don't want to, then I can, but like why we went Highland, over Greenbrier for that 4 or 5 spot? I think like you can probably kind of like flip a coin there a little bit.
Yeah, you could flip a coin, man. Just going over the overall body of work, overall strength of schedule, I think that's definitely what determined it. But I mean, both teams played well throughout the year. But just the overall body work was just a slight differential between the two when it came to making that decision.
Yeah, and we kind of weighed it out. And I'll be honest with you, I don't take much, if any, stock into another party's strength of schedule uh, rating or whatever. But for that other party, Highland did have a higher strength of schedule. When we looked at it, we thought Greenbrier had a better winning percentage over what we considered like if you want to go to like college basketball, like a quad one-ish game. So we thought Greenbrier had a better quad one-ish winning percentage. Highland played Miller School twice. They lost twice, but they played Miller School twice. They played Grace Christian down in North Carolina twice. They played some tough games. They played Gainesville. Greenbrier Christian might have played more teams, more quad one games. But if there was like a tier to the quad one, if you will, Highland may have played more at that top tier of that quad one. And at the end of the day, Highland did struggle on the back end, but they turned it on when they needed to turn it on and got that state championship. So I thought both of them had some quality wins, with Highland beating Grace Christian in Carolina. Greenbrier Christian beat Oceanside Collegiate, which is a phenomenal team. Honestly, I would probably say out of the two, Greenbrier Christian had the best win, and that was probably Oceanside Collegiate. Again, this is just outside looking in because we don't know a ton about those teams, but records and rosters and all that stuff. Cape Henry made the move up to 7. Jordan, I know some people are probably like, well, how in the heck do you choose a 19-11 team over, just say a 20-6 team? How are they above them? Like, what about Cape Henry? And we talked about this a little bit. What about Cape Henry stands out?
Like when we going through their losses, there really wasn't a like glaring bad loss. Like the losses were to quality teams that were probably top 30, top 35 through Virginia. So there were some losses, but they were close losses to some quality teams. So I think that was just a difference to where they made their appearance at.
Yeah, and look, you still got to win those games, right?
Right.
But I mean, and again, we wrote this up. Cape Henry, they were 15-4 in the months of April of May. In those 2 months, they had 3-1 loss to Miller, 1-0 to Hickory. I don't know who threw for Hickory. If I was outside looking in betting man, I'd probably say Jake Cozart. I didn't look at the box score. 11-9 loss to First Colonial and a semifinal loss to Miller School. Okay, so 2 losses, 1 a 2-run loss to one of like probably the number 2 team in the state, number 2 in the state in the private school rankings for sure. A 1-run loss to quite possibly one of the better left-handers in the state, who has had, outside of maybe one start, has been really good this spring in Cozart. And then a 2-run loss to the defending Class 5 champions.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, tougher schedule than pretty much everybody behind them, and no bad losses. From looking at it, like 0 bad losses. Like Trinity had a hard fall at the end of the season, but they played them early on, and that's Jalen German was absolutely lights out that day. And I think 2 of their losses were on the same day to Trinity, Jalen German and Jake Wise. And both of them were like 1-2-run losses. But yeah, Jordan, anything to add before we move on to Summer ID?
I think we're good. Just another talented VISAA year.
Yep, absolutely. Hate to see it go. Communication and brackets. Crazy thought for playoffs. Put brackets out. Wild. put standings out. Wild. It is absolutely mind blowing. But shout out to VISAA in that baseball group, the board and staff and all that. Super welcoming to us. Our first year we had to sign in and stuff like that. Now we walk up to the table like, y'all good, go.
Yeah.
And my man Jonathan Ash manning the gate for 2 days. So, all right, Jordan, moving on to Summer ID. I'm just going to run through some category leaders. I think we have players from 4 states there: New York, North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia, I believe, were the 4 states represented. Leading infield velocity was Grant Shiflett at 88 miles an hour. Leading outfield velocity was Aiden Tuck at 90 miles an hour. Leading catcher velo was Bryce Lyle at 78 miles an hour. Bryce also led the pop times. Leading the exit velo, Gavin Genovese, 101 miles an hour. I believe he also led the we're not going to go through that many stats, but I believe he also led the distance. Batted ball distance was like 400 feet. Am I right?
Yeah.
Then we had 3 pitchers lead fastball velo. All 3 tied with 87. Chris Canada, Jason Canada, and Aiden Tuck. Run time leaders, Aiden Tuck, 6'7", 60. Brock Hall, 6'8", 60 was second. And so, yeah, all of that stuff is sortable data that is on the website. Evan Lee led the visual edge score testing, just visual acumen and pitch recognition and stuff like that, and response times and all that stuff. So, again, all of those data categories are on the website for everyone to see on that stat release. So go check it out. We're going to get to a few players here, and we're going to try to wrap this up. I told you we're going to be 30 minutes. We're at 42, and we're starting this. So it happens every time. Never fails. All right, 2029, Logan Everett. Goochland will go to Goochland High School. Phenomenal rounds of BP for Mr. Everett, yeah?
Yeah, just consistent barrels for him. Just looking the barrel, line drives to all fields. He's only a 2029 guy, so I mean, it's a lot to like here for the future for him. A left-handed bat that's be able to spray the baseball around the yard. So it's good to see Logan again.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. He this first day we've used the hack attack, and we got it dialed in. Everything was good. And, you saw some rounds, some guys were right on barrel and some guys were leaving the yard, and then some guys struggled. And you're like, it's your first day, right? So you're still getting comfortable with it. And then this 2029 comes up there and just hitting line drives. like he got, you got guys get in there and take the first pitch or two and, maybe swinging, missing or fouling the ball off or whatever. And again, you're like, want this to go well with this machine. And again, you're kind of getting comfortable with it. And then Logan steps in there as an 8th grade left-handed hitter and does not take a pitch and just jumps right in and just hitting just line drives everywhere. So just really liked his rounds on the day. He was comfortable. He was, I don't know if you want to use aggressive, but it was consistent. He repeated and he looked really good. I told him, I was like, looks like you've hit off a machine before. He was like, yeah, once or twice. So pretty quiet kid. But next we're going to move on to Tyler Jackson, another guy that's probably used to hitting off of a machine and doing some stuff like that. 2028, Tyler Jackson, Liberty Christian Academy. Jordan, where do you want to go here?
Yeah, Tyler just uses the whole field, line drive tendencies, delivering the barrel, using the middle to pull side. Just consistent rounds, mature rounds. And he's able to defend up the middle. He can defend. He's a versatile defender. But he's just a fun one to watch. He's competitive. Loves to play the game. Plays hard. And a regular varsity contributor in OCA this year. So it's good to see Tyler again.
Yeah, starting in right field for them. I think it was a one ball put in play. I just kind of turned around to see if it was going to go out. He's out there in right field, tracking it down, getting some reps. But Yeah, and I know it's a more compact frame, but he's gotten stronger.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit more physically mature. Um, I thought he looked more comfortable at the plate and more impactful. I'm sure that strength has helped. Playing varsity baseball all year, I'm sure has helped. Um, so excited to potentially sneak out there on Friday night and see a big matchup. Maybe we're not making any promises, but yeah, really quality player, two-sport athlete, quarterback, state champion, LCA. So just a good athlete who just plays the game. Jordan, moving over to 2026, a guy that has just kind of I don't want to say exploded on the scene, but just keeps getting better. 2026, Gavin Genovese out of Gainesville High School.
Yeah, Genovese is definitely impressed throughout the spring. Getting to see him up close again. Loud rounds to the pull side, just easy strength to the pull side. We talked about the one-on-one exit velo, but it's not just like a power bat. Like has the ability to spray the ball to all fields, show feel for the barrel. Sneaky athlete too. I'm starting in the infield at third base for Gainesville this spring. He moves well, can defend a little bit at third. But yeah, we've seen his tools. They jumped out, but just he's putting it all together throughout the spring. It's just good to see that again.
Yeah, average exit of 93 miles an hour up to 1014. Average distance 276. Max distance 400. I thought he got out a little quick at times. It was probably a few swings where he was just a little bit quick. And I tell you, when everything was synced up and everything was together, it's some serious juice there. It was some people playing putt, and it did not go well for him. I think I got a few laughs out of like Mike or whoever. I was like, "Hey, y'all need to play through the 8th hole. Like, y'all need to skip the 8th hole because I think Genovese and Tuck were pretty close together in their BP rounds, and both of those guys were launching baseballs onto the putt.
I just see people.
Yeah, it was fucking duck for sure. Putt and duck. But all right, now got a couple arms here, Jordan. Well, we got. I'll tell you what, we got a two-way guy since we're on that Aiden Tuck topic. 2027 Aiden Tuck out of Powhatan High School. Two-way, probably a little more bat than arm for me, but arm strength, intriguing, athletic nonetheless. What do we got on Tuck?
Yeah, I mean, he displayed some power during his rounds. It's easy lift to the pull side. He really uses the pull side a lot in game and BP rounds. But I mean, he has the ability to impact the baseball. He's athletic. Was a 6, 7, 8 runner on the day. But yeah, he's an athletic guy that can do a little bit of different things with the bat. Provide some athleticism. So he's just intriguing as well on the mound too.
Yeah, up to 87 on the mound. I want to say I saw some stats. I feel like. And his batting average was for high school was pretty solid. I can't remember the exact stats, but hasn't thrown a ton of innings at Powhatan. There's some effort on the mound. It's definitely more reliever. And again, it's some arm strength from the outfield, some arm strength on the mound. I think the athleticism, the whole package, the power at the plate, the potential to hit for some average as well. I think that leans just more towards positional, and he's athletic enough to where he could potentially move around to all three. But yeah, solid day for Tuck. The last two that we're going to touch on really quickly are the twins, Jason and Chris Canaday. Don't quote me here, Jordan. It was one that was a little bit dinged up, and you might know. It was one that's a little bit dinged up and kind of got back healthy towards the end of the high school season. And it was one that threw a fair portion of the season for Benedictine. Do you have that pulled up? Do you want me to dive into that while you're talking?
Yeah, I think you can dive into it, but just impressive bullpens from those guys. I mean, I think there's some intriguing stuff there. They both move fairly well on the mound, athletic movers, both up to 87. Jason, more of a cutter. His cutter is kind of his go-to there. Christopher is the breaking ball, is a little bit more of his go-to for the secondary pitches as well. but they both move well. I think there's more room to add strength, more room for the velo to tick up for those guys. But I mean, it's a twin package, right? Kind of get those similarities too with those guys. I'm sure they share some tricks, have some similarities with what they do and stuff that they have on the mound. But I mean, I think they're definitely intriguing, with the arms, some arm speed there, and the ability to pitch and throw strikes, and the way they move is definitely intriguing for both of those two.
So here's Chris, and Chris is the one that threw a little bit more for Benedictine this year. Again, I think Jason got healthy on the back end of the season there, from my understanding. It looks like, I can't see exact stats. I can see just number of appearances. Looks like he had 12 appearances. From what I can see. Again, both arms were in that 86, 87 range. I thought that, both of them are just kind of like normal effort, quiet, easy movers. It's like a controlled delivery. There's a little bit of late intent there. There's some arm speed. I thought it was solid bullpens from both. Here's some video of Jason. Obviously, some difference, in the delivery, but you can see some arm speed and some intrigue. I thought Jason's arm speed and arm action was probably a little bit whippier, a little bit quick. You can see he really just kind of pronates and gets inside of that fastball. And I thought it played well out of the hand. Again, like you talked to, Jason's the one you talked about with the cutter, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I thought both of them you can see some differences in the delivery, and you can see some differences in the stuff. Both of them are mutually intriguing, if you will, in their own way. And again, both of them sitting in the 86, 87 range. Both juniors at Benedictine, or I guess will be now seniors, 2026s. Jordan, anything else to add before we wrap up here?
Yeah, a quick little shout out to Brock Hall. We talk about intriguing. A 6'9" left-handed hitter that ran 6'8". Yeah, like super intriguing, long levers, still growing. He's going to get stronger. But yeah, he's definitely an intriguing guy from EC Glass 2027.
Yeah, it was funny. We were measuring him, and we have like a laser measuring tool to measure height, and it was fine for everybody. And then I had to get up on the bench to measure him. It was like the laser wouldn't reach the ground or something for him. Like it would not work. And so I had to pull out the measuring tape, which obviously the measuring tape is accurate, because then if it was not accurate, it wouldn't be a measuring tape. I don't know what it'd be called. But yeah, he was like 6'9.2, somewhere in there. So yeah, he's a large human being. Needless to say, he plays basketball. But I mean, we talked about it in the fall with him at the Braves Scout Day. Like, how many guys that size do you see where they have functional athleticism and their body operates in a coordinated effort?
Right.
And they're able to run, like you said, like a 6'8", 60. And they move well, No. And, understandably so, like it's a wider stance at the plate. Because I couldn't imagine being a tall, I don't want to say being a taller guy, but like being tall in my setup and having to get down that far, right? It's just so much more movement. So I understand him being a little bit wider, a little bit lower to kind of simplify some of the movements with those limbs. But yeah, I thought he looked really good. Just kind of sprayed it around. Above average hand speed at the plate. It's a level path, just line drives. So again, might have a chance to see him on Friday, maybe. Just solid day for him. Solid day for multiple guys. I mean, there's other guys that we could definitely talk about here. Evan Lee, my man, is built like a brick bleep house. Like he's solid as a rock. He is absolutely solid as a rock. Compact frame, but just like does not miss any days in the weight room. He's listed 5'7", 157. And I'm just going to say, like, if he's 160, he's like 158 pounds muscle.
Yeah.
So he doesn't miss many days in the weight room. Evan Bruce had a solid day. Continues to have a solid season all the way around. I think I saw the tweet, Jordan. What did it say? Like, was it 11 multi-hit games? 7?
Yeah, like he's like when I saw him, like he was on barrel. It was a multi-hit day for him as well. There, but I mean, like he's had a phenomenal year. Northside in general, they've had a phenomenal year. So those guys are rolling down there now. So that's another team to watch out west with some of that younger talent that they have.
Yeah. 11th multi-hit game of the season.
Yeah, not too bad.
No. Sure. Yeah, I think on April 21st, 12 games in, he was hitting over 500. So just solid year for Evan Bruce. Same thing for Evan Lee. But yeah, we're gonna cap this off. We got Memorial Day weekend coming up. We have regional tournaments coming up, district tournaments going on right now in Nova. I was at district tournament last night at Abingdon. If anybody if we have any athletic directors watching this for whatever reason, if you want to know how to treat like guests, if you will, model after Abingdon High School, the AD there and the coaching staff and everyone there, crazy accommodating. I texted Jordan and them yesterday. I pulled in and the AD was in front of me in the golf cart, and he was like, "Hey, that guy gets in." He said, "Don't mess with him. He can go wherever he wants." And he was like, "Hospitality tents up there. You get whatever you want. You let me know if you need anything, this, that." And like, just an awesome place to go, an awesome setup, great people. I was there for the Mountain 7 district tournament, the semifinals. So was there all last night. Good time with good people. And, that's the important part, like, right? Like how you treat people. We're just there to help. So any assistance that you can give us to try to help your players is much appreciated. But yeah, we'll be out at tournaments, and we will try to get a round table in when we are able to. And we will do that as soon as regions do their part, I guess is probably a better way than saying do their job, do their part and put the standings up. And appreciate the coaches that are reaching out and letting us know what all is going on and giving us tournament schedules and all that good stuff. So last thing before we leave, get your stat submissions in before June 8th. Please let it come from coaches. And please make sure that they are varsity statistics. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight, and we look forward to seeing everybody